Welcome to the Porn Sacrifice channel. This is now episode 30 of the 924S Turbo build, and today I'm addressing the fuel line situation. Essentially, the ones that are on the car are obviously for the Porsche engine, and they don't fit directly onto the fuel rail for the Audi VW 1.8T. So I need to take the existing hoses out front to back. I'm going to replace the fuel pump as well, just for one that's hopefully a bit bigger, and then put in new nylon braided hoses just in one section. So you'll see as I go through, the current ones sort of cobbled together, and I think this is probably going to be the most cost effective way to do it. And yeah, and I get to make up some hoses which I've not done before. I ended up buying everything from, there's an eBay shop, Talks, which seemed to be quite highly recommended by different forums as I was going through, seeing what's involved in making these things up. Yeah, so hopefully this is all going to stay together and work nicely. So I'll be getting on with that, and hopefully won't have too many troubles. Let's try and get this done without me getting covered in petrol, kind of like I did last time, which was not something that I want to repeat. I did not enjoy that. That's now done, and I've got the old hoses here. I don't know quite how much messing about with the trailing arm benefited anything. I think the key lesson there, probably the takeaway, is to actually look at both ends of this, accepting obviously that there are two ends to this, and which is going to be the easiest to get through. But this is now out, so I'm just going to keep these to one side. I don't think I'm going to be needing them. The other thing is these are actually a different size, so the feed and return line, and I'm not quite sure what the material is inside, so I suspect I would have probably spent most of the money that I did on the replacement hose, just on trial and error, trying to get everything right. So that's that. So that can go in the corner, and then I have also had a delivery, which is very pleasing. So I've got the black sheathed hose, which is all very nice. I think I've got enough to get the job done. I've also got a load of little fittings. With these, I actually went out and, well, went out and bought, but I ordered the spanner specifically for adjusting these things without damaging them. It's not here yet. I'm half inclined just to use a normal spanner, but seeing as I bought the damn thing, I think I'll probably wait and use it just for that reason. So what I'm going to do first of all is get the hose run from the back of the car. Well, I have run the hose through, so it's now basically going from roughly where the return point is into the fuel tank, obviously out to here. The bad news is that's the end of the hose, and there's clearly not enough spare there to do the return journey, so that's rather annoying to say the least. The positive, if we're going to be looking for positives from this sort of thing, I now need to not worry about when the little spanner is going to arrive, because that will definitely be here before the hose. So yeah, that's that. It's not all lost. What I can do in the interim is grab the fuel rail. So I will just double check, not by putting the bonnet on, but just using a straight edge. I think if I try and use this, or as in the format that it is at the moment, I'm going to run into problems, because this is going to be hitting into the bonnet when it's got hoses and adapters and things on it, so I need to rectify that. The first thing I will do obviously is just give this a bit of a clear through. It's only just clearing here, and if you think that an adapter on the end there, that's going to be hitting the bonnet. So fuel rail, now the first part of my plan is just to blast a bit of compressed air through. Right, I've just got this in the vise quite gently, just with a bit of stuff around there. So there's a couple dimples in here and here, so what I'll do is just put some tape around this with a mark, and then I'll cut them on the rail side of that. That one's pretty dandy, and this one is probably okay where it is, but let me just gently see if I can coax this around and that one down a little bit. That's lovely and soft and easy to manipulate. Actually, let's keep that taped in case I need it for something further, but all I've done with that one so far is just move it down. So this one is going to need a bit more moving. So first of all, I'll try and straighten it. My worry is obviously I need to make sure I don't kink this, or I'll be buying another one of these. So now look slightly parallel. So this one now needs to just bend down. So I'm going to pop the injectors back in and have a look and see where this now sits on the engine. Okay, so that fits quite nicely. These aren't parallel, which obviously would have been nice. I think that's where I want them. What I'll do is I'll just put one of the fittings loosely on, just to get a better idea of sizing, and I'll show you how the adapters are going to work for this. So that's quite nice where that sits. If I can get that sort of positioning, that'll be good. The hose will come round about there. The belt is going to be going under there. I'm fairly confident that that will be fine, but what I would like to do, or what I will do, is just rig this up so that there's something positioning the belt or the hoses exactly where I want them. And I'm back. Although this being a video, you won't actually see any difference, but I've ordered in some additional bits. So an extra load of fuel line and an adapter for the fuel filter to take me to an AN6 fitting. So essentially what this is going to do is on the top there, if I remove this one, which is designed and fits the other ones, I don't know what connector that is, to be honest, for me to be able to get an adapter for that. And essentially what I've got now is this little metric thing here to go on in place of the factory one, or whatever came on here, and that with the new washer on there will just screw in. So yeah, so I'll get that on. I'll just use this now. I'm going to get a new fuel filter anyway. I thought I'd ordered one, but I have not. So that will just do as a stand-in for now. New hose and then all of the fittings. I'm missing one, waiting for it to come back into stock so that I can keep all the colours the same. Yes, I know. So what I'm going to do next, Now that I've got this hose, this is going to be for the feed line, so I'm going to get this run down underneath the car alongside the other one, and then just work out the lengths. So I'm going to mark this. I'll just put some red tape on just to differentiate it from the other one. Okay, so I've currently got the hoses coming out of here, and then essentially they'll wind back up to there-ish, obviously making sure that they clear the belt and the fan and everything else. So if I say, I think probably cutting them about there, there'll be room at the back, so if I need to lose any excess. After a quick experiment, I'm going to use the angle grinder method for cutting this. Get that as straight and as flat as possible. So that's cut that quite cleanly through there, which is quite nice. So you can see the metal inside. So that's all good. Okay, so now I've got my first lot of fittings that need to be attached onto the end. So essentially these, which will work like that. Now the way that this is going to work is, inside here, probably aren't going to be able to see it to be honest, but there's the thread only comes down about that far, and so the hose will fit up inside like so, and then this needs to fit down inside the hose pipe. So for that to fit down inside the hose pipe, essentially it screws into this first section here, so that goes over the hose, and then this screws into that and then also goes down inside. So the first challenge is getting this onto here, just trying to get that forced in there without damaging anything. So what I am going to do is, bearing in mind obviously this is fuel and oil proof and everything like that, is I'm just going to chuck some lubricant inside here, and I'm just going to use WD-40, and the reason for that is it should hopefully not damage anything and last long enough for me to be able to get the hose and everything inside. So that's stage one. So what you can get is a special clamp device which goes in the vise. What I've done is rigged up an adjustable spanner. I've put some tape over it so that it doesn't damage the fitting, and hopefully this will now seat itself nicely into there. Oh, actually what I'm going to do, probably not as exciting as I made it sound there, is I'm just going to pop some tape on the bottom here. And I'm going through a lot of electric tape at the moment, but the reason for doing that, or the reason for putting that on, is I just want to make sure that when I'm screwing or the other end in, that it's not pushing the hose back. And the way that I'll be able to check that is there'll be a line across the back, which will show me. So I think again what I'll do is just drop a little WD-40 on the end of that just to help ease it in. What I have got is a special spanner for not marking these fittings. So the hose has moved a little bit. I'm not sure if you can see, but yeah, I'm hoping that that will all be fine. there we go. And I have to say that was getting, I think that one on was especially hard work. It just didn't seem to, the first part of it didn't seem to want to go. But other than that, actually that's gone pretty well. So this, as I've shown before, so the curved section is going to be what's going to attach to the connectors on the fuel rail. And then this straight connector, which I've got horrible feeling is going to cause me a real aggravation getting it through to the back, but that is what's going to be connecting to the fuel filter. Now that it's got the AN-6 or AN6 adapter on there. So that's all done, so that feels nice. The return line for this one, so this is essentially the other end of the return line. This, because this isn't going to be under pressure, this is just returning any excess fuel that's not gobbled up by the engine, returning that back. And essentially what I've got for that is, and I may well have been able to use these all round, but who knows, this, which is just a connector which goes over the end of the hose, and it's got a little clampy thing built into it. I could have probably just used a much cheaper regular clamp, but this will fit nicely over the end. Hang on, let me get this. So you have basically those bits with a, and you can't see it, so it's like that essentially, fitting olive and then fitting, so it's just a regular compression fitting, like you'd have in just sort of any old plumbing really. So that goes on, olive goes on, and then the fitting. So that will just cap down on the end, and then that just needs to be tightened up there. So that's on there now. That's really nice and tight. That's not even all the way down. I don't want to over tighten it. If I need to, obviously there's room to tighten that up a bit more, but no, that's looking good. And then I'm just waiting on one for that side. And that's hopefully another job successfully done. I'm saying hopefully because obviously I can't test it. Did think about just sorting something out on the return side and just putting some fuel in there, jumping the fuel pump and just getting some petrol going around. But frankly, with the fuel rail coming on and off, it's more trouble than it's worth. That just I'll end up with petrol everywhere. So yeah, so now that's good. We've got a shiny new pump on there, which is pleasing. I'll need to swap out the fuel filter once I get one of those. And yeah, and I've learned how to make up the nylon braided hoses, which wasn't as bad as I was expecting. I am going to be making up the PTFE ones at some point soon for the turbo return line. I understand they're a bit more of a pain to do, but hopefully the process isn't going to be entirely different than these ones. The reason for going with this is because it does the job. It's a bit lighter and more flexible than the Teflon and the stainless braiding. I probably could have got there in terms of making up something with using the original hose that I had, but as I mentioned before, I suspect I would have gone through more money in trying out different parts than I would with everything else. So fingers crossed that this is all going to hold together when the moment inevitably arrives of switching this all on. But as always, thanks very much for watching, and I will hopefully catch you next time. Cheers.